Hi, welcome back. So now we are going to discuss pressure changes and resistance. So we will talk specifically about the change in the pressure that occurs when we breathing. Then we will also consider resistance of the airways and how that will affect the amount of air to we get into our lungs. So we have to go back to the Dr. Putri lecture about the anatomy. We said that we have our lungs in the chest cavity, right? We said that if the chest wall expands, then the lung also will expand as well. The explanation for that is because we have a pleural sacs, right? The inner layer of the pleural sac is attached to the lung, just like Dr. Putri pointed in previous session. That's right here. And the outer layer is attached to the chest wall. In between, we will have the fluid. So this arrangement means that whatever happens to the chest wall the lungs will follow, right? So this fluid in the pleural sac functions allows for there to be no friction between the lungs and the chest wall, but yet it keeps the lung next to the chest wall, just attached like that. So that's the function of the pleural sacs. Okay, now we move to another slide. So this is a the schematic diagram about our lung. So now I will introduce you to the abbreviation first. So in here we have the PATM in here. We call it, it reflects the pressure in the atmosphere. And we also have the P and capital A, PA. It reflects the pressure in the alveoli. And we also have the PIP. Like here, it is a pressure in the intrapleural space. Okay, so we get the pressure, the atmospheric pressure. Actually, pressure is about 760 millimeter Hg. But in this case, to just to make it easier, we just considering the pressure is just zero. Okay, just 0 millimeter of mercury. So we just kind of considering the pressure in the lungs in general in this diagram. So remember, even at rest, we've got two opposing forces, right? We have the recoil of the lung. So we will move to the inside. And then the chest wall also have its own recoil, right? So this is a different opposite forces. This diagram shows that when both have pressure of zero, then the interpleural pressure is going to be negative because there is like opposite two forces pulling on it opposite direction. So we can say that the difference in the alveolar pressure and the interpleural pressure is what determines the lung volume. So we'll see more clearly in the minute. The important thing is that for the lung to stay open, the interpleural pressure need to be less than alveolar pressure. It need to be more negative. Even if it is become equal, you will have an issue. This is what happened in the pneumothorax. For instance, someone gets stabbed or someone poke so that air enter the pleural sac, then the interpleural pressure equals zero, that which means that is equal to atmospheric pressure. That's called pneumothorax. You got air in that pleural sac that will cause the lung to collapse. So when the interpleural pressure equals with the atmospheric pressure, not only lung will collapse, but the chest wall will expand. So this is because you remove it out from being held into the pleural sacs. So you have both the lung collapse and the chest wall will expand. So you make this pressure equal to the atmospheric pressure. So we now move to this next more complex picture, but don't worry about that. We can go slowly. So let's talk about what happens through the ventilation cycle. We will start at the end of expiration in here. Okay. In the end of expiration, we just exhale, right? We just let out the air, all of it. So now we get the scenario that we just talked about where the chest wall wants to expand and the lungs want to contract like this, okay? And we have a normal intrapleural pressure of -3. Let's say this is just for the equation, okay? And as we inspire, just when we are starting to inspire, it is expanding. So that will stretch the lung. So it will have greater recoil. Also, the interpellar pressure will now be even more negative in here because the pressure is in here and in here it just get bigger. So the interpellar pressure will be more even negative. Since it is more negative and we said that the difference between the alveolar pressure and the interpellar pressure is what determine the lung size, then that's going to cause the lung to expand. As the lung expands, it's going to be a greater volume with the same amount of air. So remembering again about the Boyle's law, that means now we have a negative pressure in the alveoli. The intrapleural pressure is still more negative. You can see here, -5 and -1. Okay, this means that we will have an airflow in because the difference between the pressure in atmosphere and the pressure in the alveoli. So the pressure in atmosphere is bigger than the alveoli, so the air will just flow in. Okay. In this next step, at the end of inspiration, now we have made the chest wall even greater to expand. But our interpellar pressure is even more negative. Our recoil of our lungs is even greater because it is larger. So we now have an increase even more in the volume of the lung. And at the end of the expiration, after just a split second, then we will have equilibrated between the alveolar pressure and the atmospheric pressure is the same zero, right? Then we will start to expire, to exhale. This occurs when we relax the diaphragm. The diaphragm relax, and that means that the force that the chest wall produce to expand now greatly reduce. And so our interpellar pressure will be less negative now. This is positive 1 now. And our lung will be smaller now. Since we got the same amount of air in a smaller space, the pressure has increased in the alveoli. This means because the pressure is greater than the atmosphere, the air will just flow out. That's going to continue to happen till we get to the end of expiration. Now we back to where we started from. Our interpellar pressure is negative, but not that negative, so our lung size is not that large. And in the split second, we have time to equilibration so that our alveolar pressure is 0. We move to the next slide. In the next slide, it's just like, this is what I call the plastic lung, okay? It demonstrates a lot of principles that we've been talking about in terms of the pressure that are occurring and changing during breathing. The yellow balloon is going to represent the lung. The air in the canister represents the interpellar space. If I pull on this latex at the bottom, then I'm going to make the volume inside the canister larger. This will decrease the pressure in the interpellar space, right? So which occurs during inhalation. And it is going to expand the lung. So as I make the air chamber larger, then the pressure will decrease. The lung is going to follow. That's what we talk about of the difference between the pressure inside the alveoli versus the interpellar pressure determines the size of the lung. So that's what's happening here. So decreases the interpellar pressure and the lung is going to expand. Increase it, making the chamber smaller and the lung contract in size. Remember, we also talk about how it's important then the intrapleural space is always less than the pressure in the lung. If not, then you will have a problem, which is called pneumothorax. This is also happen to people if they have fluid or enter into the intrapleural space. So in these demonstrations, let's say I just open the cup of the bottle and then the lung will collapse. Okay, in the next session, now we are going to consider resistance in the airways, that what influence the resistance and then how that's going to affect the airflow. So again, we are going to have the same equation that we use in the cardiovascular system, where the difference in the alveolar pressure and the atmospheric pressure is what determines flow, right? That what we will have a large contribution from the resistance. So we know that one of the most important things in resistance of these airway tubes is going to be their diameter. The smaller the diameter, the greater resistance in the tube. So flow will decrease. Consider lung anatomy. The farther you go into the lung, the tube's diameters are smaller, but you have more tube, so therefore the cross-sectional area is larger. That means that resistance will decrease as you enter the lung. We also talk a little bit about how lung volume will decrease as you is going to affect the diameter of the airways. When your lung is full, everything is stretched. The airway is not are not as compressed, and the resistance will also be decreased. This can actually be used as compensation for such a kind of lung disease. If it is hard to exhale, as in obstructive lung disease, then you can kind of breathe a greater lung capacity. It means that your lungs are more inflated even when you're exhaling. It can be a compensation for certain lung disease. As with the circulatory system, we are going to be able to control the diameter, particularly of bronchioles, which have a lot of smooth muscle. So this enables us to control airflow. This is going to be in contrast with the cardiovascular system, where the sympathetic stimulation causes the relaxation of the bronchioli. This is really makes sense. If you are doing fight or flight, you want to be able to just fill in air so as many as you can. So the sympathetic stimulation cause relaxation of the bronchioli. So this is really open up the airway. And then we also talk about this a little bit, but we are going to talk about it a little bit more in the future. The elastic recoil of the airway is going to be important. In disease such as emphysema, where we have reduced elastic tissue, then we have increased compliance. But decreased recoil can affect flow. Since you got less recoil by the lung, that means that intrapleural pressure will be less negative. You get less of one of those forces that is making negative. Therefore, the airway diameter will be smaller and the resistance will be higher. So if you don't have that recoil, that can affect the airways. So we move to another slide. Okay. In this slide, I want to discuss with you about the particularly prominent when you just trying to force the air out quickly. So for instance, if you are trying to exercise, then you want to get the air out quickly, right? And then quickly you can inhale. I mean, if you're just running for the marathon, something like that. And this is called a forced exhalation. We are forcing the air out quickly. In normal person, that will cause the intrapleural pressure to become positive because you are really squeezing the pleural sacs. However, it's still less than alveolar pressure, right? You can see the intrapleural pressure in here, it becoming plus 60, but it's still less than the pressure in the alveoli, that plus 90. Okay, so we are not going to collapse the lung. Okay, we've got that good lung recoil, so the lung is going to really contract or get smaller. Which is going to make that pressure increase, right? Then as air moves out the respiratory system, the air pressure will drop because of the resistance of the air tubes. Okay, so we can see here that the air is just flow out, but into the increasing the air resistance, and also the pressure also get decreased, right? Then as air moves out of the respiratory system, the air pressure will drop because of the resistance of the tube. The thing is, that would be our concern if you want to make sure that the pressure in this tube is at least equal or less than the interpleural pressure, right? Otherwise, the tube will collapse. So if the pressure in here is lesser than the interpleural here, the tube will collapse. It will be compressed. So it is okay because it is in the structure like bronchus or the trachea that we will have the cartilage. So it is okay when the plus 20 in here. It is okay because the cartilage will protect the airway. So it's not going to collapse. This is in contrast to an obstructive lung disease like emphysema, where we lost some of our recoil. So that even though we have a high intrapleural pressure, because the lung has recoiling less and is getting smaller, less efficient, we produce a smaller alveolar pressure. It is closer than the interpleural pressure in here. And then we often also are going to also have the increased resistance in the airway, like asthma or chronic bronchitis, which is the tube is going smaller in here, and so the pressure in here is lesser than the interpleural pressure. So that's why the airway can collapse, compress by the pressure, the interpleural pressure been given. Okay. Okay, we are next move to the next slide. So we want to remembering about our concept and the difference between the pressure in the alveoli and the interpleural pressure is determine the lung size, and the difference between the pressure in alveoli and atmospheric, it determines the airflow. Airway resistance increases during expiration, and during forced expiration, when intrapleural pressure becomes positive, small airways are compressed, or we call it dynamic compression, and may even collapse.